Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us today from. Welcome to this live Fireside Chat discussion where we will be talking about best practices, decision drivers, and future of data management solution. My name is Ayan. I'm a developer advocate here at SlashData and Developer Nation community. I'm also going to be hosting this Fireside Chat today, and I have the pleasure of this company of distinguished guests as experts in our panel, and I will introduce them very shortly. We have a lot to cover today, but first, let's start with some basic housekeeping so you have the best experience out of this webinar. So, we are on this platform called Butter, which I really enjoy hosting on this platform, and you're gonna see that in a minute. So, we are in the same virtual space as you can see, including the participant, including the panelist. So I request you to keep your microphones off. And as you have noticed, this is a recorded webinar. So if you're not comfortable sharing your face, you can also turn off the camera, but that's totally optional. We will be talking about different resources throughout this fireside chat, and all the links that we're going to be talking about, all the resources that we will be mentioning, we will be posting it in the chat window. So keep an eye out there. Also, if you have registered or is here by invitation, we will be also emailing you the recording when it's available, along with all the resources that we're going to be mentioning. uh, One last thing, you will see some lines between the participant and the panel members, so you can use that to adjust the real estate on the screen however you feel comfortable, and make you can do it's not gonna be affecting everyone's screen, so use that however you want. Now that's being said, let's start with the live fireside chat discussion. I'm very excited today because we will be covering a lot of different things, especially the current landscape of digital natives companies, talking about the tools IT professionals in digital native organization use to grow their businesses. We're going to be discussing managed solution and how fast growing companies are optimizing for their growth. This is all from the 2023 State of the Data Management Solution for Digital Native report. More on that in a bit. So let's start and begin this fireside chat discussion by introducing our expert panel members today. So we'll begin with the Olivier Uber, who is a senior partner solution architect at Aiven. It's great to have you here, Olivier. Olivier, please tell a bit more about yourself.
Yes. Hi. So my name is Oliver Huber, and I'm based in Paris, France. I've been in the IT industry for like 25 years now. I've worked in like a software editor, investment banking, consulting company, and now a digital native international company. And since I'm passionate about and making complex things easy to understand, it was natural for me to join Aiven as a partner solution architect to help bring the best of open source data services to our customers and partners.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you here. You have tons of experience in this space, and I cannot think of anyone better discussing this topic today. Next, we have with us Stephen. Stephen is joining us from OVHcloud and having 25 years of experience in building data center. Stephen, could you share a bit more about yourself to our audience joining today?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Stefan Lignol. I joined OVHcloud nearly 2 years ago as a solution architect. So I am part of the product team organization supporting specific or more complex, project. And my daily job is really to support them, all customers, in their service adoptions. And before that, I worked for more than 20 years, for different managed service providers.
Amazing. Again, great to have you here. Thank you so much for agreeing to joining this panel. We also have with us one of the authors of the original report that we're going to be discussing today, Nikita, joining us from SlashData. Nikita is a senior market research analyst. And as I mentioned, Nikita is also the author of this report. Nikita, over to you to tell a bit more about yourself.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I am the analyst who worked with Aiven to design the survey that underpins the findings of this report and its lead author. Today, I will support Stefan and Oliver in our discussion about the state of data management solutions for digital native companies from an analyst perspective. And apologies for not having the webcam on. It is unfortunately not possible at the moment. Thank you very much, Ian.
Not an issue. We could work with that amazing photo of you on the screen. Thank you for joining the webinar. And I've also already introduced myself. I'm a Yan developer advocate at SlashData. If you want to connect with any of the panelists, we're going to be sharing resources and you can get in touch. Also, if you have any question during this fireside chat, please feel free to put it in the chat section. We have a dedicated Q&A section at the end of this panel, and we will be taking all your questions. So before we deep dive into the discussion, let's get to know some key things from our panel members, starting with the term you're going to hear quite often throughout this live stream. So Olivier, could you please shed some light on 2023 State of Data Management Solution for Digital Native report that we will be discussing, and what people can find it into that report?
Yes, of course. We wanted to understand what the emergent trends are and best practices for digital native companies in the data management technology area, and actually where is it coming from, where is it going, and how does it adapt to changes. And we wanted to hear this from those working hands-on with data infrastructure operations, and that is why we partnered with SlashData to conduct this research. And you've got the full report available on our website, and you'll find a link in the chat for you to check it out.
Amazing. Do check out this report. It has a ton of insight that would be helpful if you are coming from a digital native organization. And again, speaking about digital natives, we have used this term quite often. So let's get it out of this way. Nikita, because we have used this term quite frequently in the webinar and also in the report, could you tell us how we actually define digital native organizations?
Certainly. So in simple terms, this really refers to companies that have fully integrated modern digital practices into the core parts of their businesses. So these practices include things like using cloud technologies, DevOps activities, and many more.
Alrighty, that makes a lot of sense. Also, throughout this report, insights can be found comparing and mentioning about fast-growing companies as well as conservative growing companies. So, Nikita, what's the criteria that we had set while we were doing this survey, and how did we define fast-growing companies versus conservative growth companies?
Okay, so in our survey, we asked our respondents to identify the number of employees that their companies have and by how much that number has changed over the past 12 months. For those that have more than 25 employees, we define that as having increased their full-time equivalent headcount by more than 25%. And those are the fast-growing companies, whereas the others are those that experienced conservative growth.
Pretty insightful. I see we have around 15-20 people joining this webinar. So do drop in the chat if you are from a fast-growing company versus conservative growth companies, depending on what Nikita just mentioned. Lastly, Stefan, could you walk us through the nature of the partnership between Aiven and OVHcloud?
Yeah, OVHcloud enables business, of all sizes to accelerate moving to a trusted or fully compliant GDPR compliant cloud. Through Aiven, we deliver fully managed services for all major database engines, both for test, dev, and production-grade environments. Our partnership with Aiven dates back from more than 2 years now, and together we are growing to provide the best open source tools to companies that are really concerned about data security and sovereignty. Our portfolio offering is globally available for more than a year on the OVHcloud website.
Amazing. I'm sure everyone has heard about OVHcloud, and it's good to know about this partnership with Aiven. So now that we have discussed the fundamental aspect of this report, let's start by looking at the current landscape of data management solution, starting with the hosting preferences. So about that, Olivier, could you broadly walk us through the difference between a fully managed solution versus a self-managed solution, and why would someone prefer one over the other?
Yes, and in a self-managed cloud, you are in charge of the infrastructure, maintenance, security, monitoring, upgrades, integrations, etc. And that's not even enough, because you need a dedicated staff of technical experts for each of the specific services you offer. So you've got more control. Let's say you are required to follow some specific security rules, compliances, but you also have much more hassle. Whereas in a fully managed cloud environment, all of this is taken care for you, including disaster recovery, incident response, data backup, etc. Solution architects can even help you in migrating or resizing. So a great peace of mind for you and much more time to spend on your core business, a faster go-to-market. And all of this with a limited in-house team of tech experts. And actually, for example, we have a client that has only a handful of engineers for more than 1,000 running services. That would be impossible in a self-managed cloud.
Wow, absolutely. Anything that could make the focus on the core business is always welcoming, and good to know this difference. I hope this would be helpful for the people who are not yet aware. I have this insight from the report. Let me just pull it up here. And this is about IT professionals in fast growing companies are more likely to rely on DBaaS solutions. Uh, so we can see that it has significantly higher preference toward using fully managed solution, 55% for search technologies compared to conservative growth companies at 37%. So Stefan, could you elaborate what are the benefits does a fully managed solution provide to a fast growing company in general that it's showing in leaning towards them?
Yeah, it's been in OVHcloud DNA, from the start to support fast-growing companies. I do have an example in mind where one of them in the real estate tech domain has managed, its own data infrastructure by itself for, I would say, a couple of years. They realized that there were less than 10 people managing their software development and the platform and database running all the management of these infrastructures. They were behind, and they realized, I would say 1 year ago that they were behind the last supported release of the database engines. They were not confident anymore to guarantee the availability of the services. They lost some skills on some engines. They were not able to deploy larger cluster, and backup policies were unreliable. So starting with managed data infrastructure would avoid them, to realign all their architectures, but also their organization. And today we are working with them, to transition all their main components to manage and open source technologies.
Absolutely insightful. Thank you for sharing that one. I also have another insight from the report here, and this one basically talks about different technologies that fast-growing companies are focusing on. And here you can see that search and event streaming are at the very top. So, Olivier, let's talk a bit more about these top fully managed tools digital native rely on, and how do you generally feel about this insight here?
Right. Let's say that I remember years ago using Lucene for searchability, Lucene being the low-level library behind Elasticsearch and OpenSearch. And I remember coding all of the indexing and retrieval myself. I recall the ops team of the big investment banking company I was working for calling us saying we were overloading the production server at night. We were actually re-indexing the full database at that time. We thought that wouldn't bother anyone, but yeah, we had more work and performance tweaking to do there. And we realized managing a search solution by hand is hard. No wonder digital natives embraces tools like OpenSearch, for search. And I did have to use later at another company a proprietary solution for search, but it was not much better. Documentation was sparse, lots of bugs, performance issues, and no dev community around to help you. When I discovered Elasticsearch being demoed live by Shea Bannon, the author, it hit me right there. With only some simple curl commands in a black and white terminal, there was an easy-to-use and user-friendly tool there. It was naturally clustered, etc. Everything I was trying to do myself, and that was big. And no wonder digital natives adopted it right away. And that was just for search. Because if at the time message queues were used here and there, with a microservice architecture becoming a thing, remember Netflix at the time, and a higher demand and faster go-to-market strategy, digital natives jumped also into event streaming right away. No wonder they're at the top.
Absolutely. I don't see a reason for anyone using low-level libraries when there are tools out there who is taking away all the pain points from you. Also from the report, Olivier, the fully managed solutions are highly prevalent for search technologies. It's almost 48% and even streaming 47%. So could you elaborate on why IT professionals prefer fully managed solution when it comes to these specific technologies over other services?
Right. Those services, search, event streaming, those services are naturally clustered. But the way the cluster service stays well balanced in running, scaling properly, etc., this is not a key in hand solution, right? This is complex to run. And for example, if an event streaming cluster becomes unbalanced or a node has failed, How do you automatically create its replacement, sync, and rebalance data from the remaining cluster members? I'm not even going to mention migrating from one cloud to another. Operations don't want to manually hassle with those complex procedures, right? So their focus is whatever the application is about, their core business. They don't want to waste time on distractions.
That certainly makes a lot of sense. Uh, I have a new insight from the report here. Let me again share my screen, and this will also give us an opportunity to talk more about everyone's favorite topic, open source. And this is a very interesting insight. So let's talk a bit about open source. And this insight from the report shows that there is a significant interest in using open source search technologies among fast-growing companies, and not take a look at the popularity of OpenSearch, which is at 47%, and Elasticsearch, another open source search technology, at 39%. So they're quite popular, but the same cannot be said true for an open source solution in event streaming category, irrespective of the company's growth. So, for example, Apache Kafka, which is an open source event streaming solution, hasn't made it to the top 5 list. And also from the same report, let me read a small para for you, which says, we see a very strong preference for commercial offerings in this category, which is, of course, the event streaming category. And it suggests that open source alternatives may be too difficult to set up and maintain. So, Olivier, do you think this is because of the difficulty and having a steep learning curve in setting up and managing fully open source event streaming services like Apache Kafka, or is it something else?
Yeah, actually, one of our digital native customer, cloud-based B2C and B2B e-commerce platform, they just told us recently that they actually do have the skills to manage Kafka. They do have Java experts in-house. They actually did manage Kafka, installed it, secured it, updated it, etc. And they said they never want to do that again.
Wow.
Seriously, first, you need highly technical skills with the right people. It costs money and they're hard to find. Then time and effort that you don't want to spend on infrastructure. You'd rather add value to your stack, right, and your core business. So having a managed Kafka solution, that would be the way to go forward. And that's where solutions like Aiven for Kafka comes in.
Wow, that's a very fascinating anecdote. Even though having all the expertise, they are still not looking forward to do that again. While we are on the topic, could you also explain how Aiven can help IT professionals setting up an open source event streaming solutions? Let's take an example of Apache Kafka, because we are discussing that. And this, I'm sure, provides the best of the both world, being open source and being managed by a team of professionals.
Right. If you want to run Kafka, you can download it for free, of course, set it up, run it, but you will definitely it will not be a production ready. I mean, not in a way to run a business on. You'll have security, multiple nodes spread across availability zones, backups, restore, a bunch of stuff around it that needs to be addressed. And that is the real value of a platform, like fully managed and secure. We also build on top of open source, right? So no vendor lock-in there. So we do make open source technology easy to implement, but even more importantly, we actively contribute to open source ecosystem to ensure that critical code and software is actively and sustainably maintained. So yeah, you can have the best of both worlds, and it's even desirable.
Absolutely. Because you mentioned secured, and this brings us to the future sentiments chapter of this report. So till now, what we have covered is the current landscape, how things are looking like at the present, and now we're going to be moving to the future sentiment associated with data management for digital native companies. And here we are having this insight, which is very fascinating, talking about security and performance and other aspects that grow in importance when selecting a new DBaaS vendor. But let's ask Nikita to walk us through this particular insight. Nikita.
Thank you, Ian. So we asked our respondents to report their sentiment on how the importance of these aspects, which you see on the left, will change in the future for when it comes to selecting a DBaaS vendor. So on the left-hand side, we see the full scope of their opinions for each attribute. And we see that those who think that something will grow in the future in the terms of importance is labeled in the pink, whereas the opposite is labeled in orange, which is those who think that something will decrease in importance. And on the right-hand side, we see a chart in yellow, which we find by calculating the difference between the pink and the orange bars. And this provides the net increase score or the net sentiment, and we see it on the right-hand side. Broadly speaking, this represents the future sentiment on how importance of each attribute will change. And for instance, we see that while the outlook for things like open source solutions is highly positive at a balance of 64, things like security and performance separate themselves from the rest as the most likely features to grow in importance for digital native companies. Over to you, Ryan.
Great. Thank you for explaining that insight to our audience. It's good to have an author from the report with us on the panel today. But from an IT or DevOps practitioner perspective, because I'm sure a lot of people have been joining from that background, Stefan, what sort of security measure can they expect bake into a managed solution from a DBaaS vendor, which makes their job easier from day to day?
Well, depending on the service, data is either sensitive or critical, and OVHcloud is definitely one of the only cloud providers that protects your data by design. We offer best-in-class certification on compliance to align with all your local regulations. So all data are encrypted at rest or in transit. Backup are done locally or on remote sites. They are fully encrypted. And to manage your cluster, you can upgrade with no service interruption, and everything is relying on a private network to connect any OVHcloud services.
Amazing. I have had so much discussion with different people and always complaining about compliances. It's good to see that it can be taken care of in a managed solution. Moving ahead, there is interesting discrepancy when looking at the role of pricing in technology adoption. So when adopting a new technology, pricing is in the middle of the list in the insight that I just showed. I'm just going to pull it up. But from the report, it's much higher up when considering replacing a technology. So this can be explained by the fact that when adopting a new technology, teams are looking at how it fits in the ecosystem versus, let's say, when renewing a technology, they are looking at the ways to optimize the use of that technology. So which includes reducing the cost. So let's talk about some of the areas that companies can look at reducing this cost, or what they can explore when looking at the pricing models. So I think Olivier and Stephen, you both can add a bit on this one. So let's start with you, Olivier.
Right. Actually, pricing is one of the best part because customers can believe it right at the start. After the first click on the service you want to run, boom, you have it. Like the total price is already right there, and that price includes network costs and backups. And yes, it does. Like predictability and simplicity. That's it. And not only that, but all the while being able to scale up and down, add as much storage as you want, and all of this, of course, with near zero downtime. That's what really interests customers.
Yeah, I think we need to keep in mind that there is maybe 3 main points regarding pricing that we need to keep in mind. The first one is about flexible offering to scale up and down, as said Olivier, from single node to large cluster, from very small to very large compute node. But you also need some predictability and some simplicity in the pricing model. So no extra cost for any extra backup volumes, no network communication cost. Everything like this should be included in the services. And OVHcloud is very competitive on price perf ratio, but combined with Aiven capability to manage data services, I think you have there a right cost-efficient solution.
Well, that's definitely good to know. There's a lot of flexibility when choosing a pricing plan. I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate it. All right, that brings us to the Q&A section of this webinar. Is there any question? I don't see anything in the chat window yet, but if there is any question regarding anything that we have discussed, please feel free to put it in the chat. While I use this opportunity to bring up the questions that I've been putting up in my back pocket. And in this very insight, I also see sustainability and being environment friendly, and it often comes up while talking about hosting and different solution. So let's touch up base and talk more about sustainability in general. And starting with you, Olivier, how Aiven and of course Stephen, you can also add from OVHcloud perspective. So how Aiven and OVHcloud are digital native are starting to prioritize sustainability in their data choices, and how do you support them in sustainability journey in general?
Right. We actually really want to help our customers and other organizations reach their environmental sustainability goals by communicating the environmental impact of Aiven services. So we need to understand and see, first of all. And we highlight how we can reduce their environmental footprint through compensation, optimizing energy sources by cloud, like region, reducing overconsumption. Actually, if we can track the waste, understand and see, we can fine-tune the services we use and only use what we really need, which results in money saved, of course, but you need a platform that is flexible enough to be able to do that and show you. And you can find the link in the chat about our sustainability page to have more information on that.
That's great. It's great to see Aiven sustainability initiative being in the forefront and making a significant impact on data infrastructure space. Stefan, would you like to add anything on this one?
Yeah, sustainability is definitely one of our core value, at OVHcloud. From the beginning, we do have an industrial model, to manage the full life cycle of the servers, all the equipment. We also introduced water cooling more than 20 years ago in our data centers. And as a result, we do have an efficiency which is measured with a transparent methodology on different value like PUE, water usage efficiency as well, or carbon usage on the 3 scope. And we do have some, let's say, very good result. Our data center are around 1.1 or 1.3 maximum of PUE. And regarding the water consumptions, we are consuming like 1 glass compared to 1 liter for the concurrent, cloud provider to cool the servers.
Wow, 1 glass over 1 liter. That is really fascinating. All right, I still don't see any question from the audience coming in the Q&A section, and I'll take that opportunity to ask Nikita, since you have authored this report, what finding did you consider to be, like, let's say, most interesting for this specific one?
I think something that I found really interesting is perhaps related to the last 2 insights that we just discussed. And while we see things like pricing being highly prominent for a lot of companies, we see expected results for small companies being more focused on pricing, whereas larger enterprises being a lot more focused on things like performance and so on. However, when it comes to sustainability, what we see is that there is actually no significant dependence on factors such as company size, growth rate, or location. So this means that in large, digital native companies are all looking to ensure that they are committed to sustainable practices and looking for DBaaS vendors in the future that can accommodate that. So perhaps it is the very much growing interest across the board of sustainability is what I found most interesting in the report.
Absolutely. Great inputs on that one, Nikita. I still don't see any Q&As from the audience, but that's totally all right. You can reach out to the different channels that we're going to be posting alongside the recording, because that brings us to the end of this session. I had a great time discussing the insights from the report with all the panel members here, and I would like to extend my thanks to everyone for lending us their time. Any closing notes from you, Olivier?
Yeah, well, I would say if you're ever curious about Kafka or OpenSearch and the like, and you just want to give it a quick try in a nice and easy to use UI, it's just a few clicks away, and no need to set up any credit card or anything. You've got some 3 credits to start with, so spawn your Kafka cluster right now. You'll have a link in the chat.
Well, no need to add credit card. I know I'm doing that. I'm going to spawn a cluster and see how it goes. Over to you, Stephen. Any last closing words from your side or OVHcloud?
Yeah, OVHcloud data infrastructure offering, powered by Aiven is key to support the growth of the digital native companies. But they are also great, to support some more traditional ones that need to refocus on their core businesses, improve their security or resiliency. Managed services is definitely, the right path to accelerate the go-to-market and increase operational efficiency. So please join our thousands of customers that we have right now today, and please test by yourself and share your feedback. If you have any question, please look at our roadmap on GitHub, or you can also join us and discuss with our engineers on Discord. So I think you will get the tooling for that.
Amazing. You will find the links to the GitHub and Discord in the chat window and alongside this recording. Nikita, over to you. Any last word before we sign off? Nikita, are you still with us?
Yeah, sorry, for some reason my internet has been a bit shaky. Yeah, I just would like to ask if, offer any developers or people who are participating in development, if they're interested to participate in our global developer survey, which status will be linking in the chat right now.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, do participate in the Global Developer Nation survey. It helps us and our partners to give you a better developer experience and ecosystem, and you can win a lot of prizes along the way. And that brings us to the very end of this session. I really enjoyed having this fireside chat, and definitely we will be doing this more often. Thank you very much to all the panel members. Thanks a lot to everyone who decided to participate, and even if you're watching it into the on the recording. Uh, do sign up for the Developer Nation community, because we have a lot of resources out there for you at developernation.net. Once again, thanks a lot, and we'll see you again very soon. Have a great week. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.